I've spent the better part of the year telling everyone who comes to me for advice about why the PlayStation 5 Pro is a terrible purchase to make, and yet now I've made up my mind about buying the damn thing. That's the stunning confession of a gamer who went from being the biggest critic of Sony's new console to its newest convert. What could possibly cause such a dramatic 180-degree turn? For months, the PS5 Pro looked like a solution in search of a problem, an overpriced, incremental upgrade in a generation already struggling with a lack of must-have exclusives. But then, one single announcement from Sony and AMD changed the entire equation. Today, we're diving deep into this fascinating journey of a gamer's change of heart. We'll break down the very compelling reasons why you shouldn't buy a PS5 Pro, explore the agonizing personal conflict that plagues so many modern gamers, and uncover the game-changing technology that finally tipped the scales. And stick around, because we'll also reveal the final $1,000 hurdle that stands in the way of this purchase. Let's be brutally honest for a moment. The initial arguments against the PlayStation 5 Pro are not just strong, they're ironclad. For starters, let's talk about the price tag. The elephant in the room wearing a solid gold tuxedo. $700. That's not a small sum of money, it's a serious investment. One of the core pillars of console gaming has always been its affordability and accessibility compared to the ever-escalating costs of PC hardware. A $700 console fundamentally challenges that identity. It pushes the boundary of what many consider a reasonable price for a dedicated gaming machine, creating a financial sinkhole before you've even bought a single game. But the financial bleeding doesn't stop there. The PS5 Pro is, by default, an exclusively digital console. If you, like our protagonist, are a believer in physical media, in the joy of owning a disc, a case, and the ability to trade or sell your games, you're immediately facing another cost. You'll need to shell out an additional $80 for an attachable disk drive. That's right, an $80 accessory just to use the physical games you already paid for. For anyone with a library of PS4 and PS5 discs, this isn't an option. It's a mandatory tax, bringing the total cost of entry to a staggering $780. And this is all happening within a console generation that has, for many, felt like a significant letdown. Remember the bold promises of 2020? A seamless leap into the future with no loading screens and experiences fundamentally impossible on older hardware? Instead, the 9th generation has been riddled with cross-gen releases, massive game delays, widespread industry layoffs, and a nagging feeling that we're all still waiting for it to truly begin. In that challenging context, a $700 mid-generation refresh felt almost tone-deaf. It's like a chef offering a tiny, expensive dessert when the main course never even arrived. The base PlayStation 5 is already an incredibly capable machine, so the Pro initially felt less like a necessary evolution and more like a luxury solution to a problem most people didn't have. And for what exactly? At launch, the improvements were subtle. The Pro promised the visual fidelity of the base PS5's quality mode, but with the smooth 60 frames per second of performance mode. This was achieved through Sony's proprietary upscaling tech, PSRR. But the truth is, the enhanced visuals were barely noticeable unless you were a professional pixel peeper with your face pressed against the screen. Add to this the frustrating lack of PS5 Pro enhanced exclusive games, and the fact that many of Sony's biggest hits, like God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2, are already making their way to Steam, and the question becomes deafening: why would anyone buy this? And yet, despite all this sound logic, our protagonist found himself haunted by the console, seeing it in his dreams, like the Green Goblin mask. To understand why, we need to look beyond the spec sheets and into the mind of a modern gamer. It all came to a head while playing Death Stranding 2 on the beach on his base PlayStation 5. He describes it as a fantastic, truly next-generation experience. The Decima engine is a marvel of technology, but it presented him with a torturous, ever-present dilemma. The 30 frames per second quality mode was breathtakingly beautiful. The 60 frames per second performance mode was fluid and responsive, and he couldn't choose. He found himself constantly switching between the two modes, unable to settle. Half the game was played in cinematic, gorgeous 30 frames per second, and the other half in silky smooth 60. He admits some of his friends couldn't even tell the difference, but he could, and it was driving him crazy. Let's truly dissect this modern gamer's madness. Choosing quality mode in a game like Death Stranding 2 means you see the world as Kojima's team painstakingly crafted it. You see the subtle interplay of light on wet surfaces, the intricate detail in character models, the density of the foliage that sways realistically in the wind. It's a cinematic masterpiece. But every time you pan the camera, you feel that subtle, unmistakable judder of 30 frames per second. It feels heavy, deliberate, sometimes even sluggish. Then you switch to performance mode. Instantly, the world feels alive, responsive. Your character moves with a newfound grace, the camera whips around with buttery smoothness. It feels objectively better to play, but in the back of your mind, you know what you've sacrificed. You notice the slightly softer image, the less complex shadows, the pop-in on distant objects. The magic is slightly diminished. It's a constant, nagging trade-off that pulls you out of the experience. It's the digital equivalent of being at a magnificent banquet, but only being allowed to either taste the food or smell it, never both at the same time. It's a problem he calls his own, but it's one that resonates with millions of players in this 9th generation of consoles. We have televisions and hardware capable of incredible things, yet we are constantly asked to make a sacrifice. Do you want your game to look its absolute best, or do you want it to feel its absolute best? In 2025, with high-end PCs pushing triple-digit frame rates, 60 frames per second feels non-negotiable for many. And yet, the lure of seeing these incredibly detailed worlds as the artists intended, with every graphical bell and whistle enabled, is intoxicating. This internal battle, this inability to accept the compromise, is the crack in the armor that the PS5 Pro was designed to exploit. It dangles the ultimate prize, the promise of having it all. Quality mode's visuals at performance mode's frame rate. No compromise. No more agonizing choices. Just the definitive version of the game. If you've ever felt that agonizing pull between quality and performance modes, constantly flipping back and forth in the settings menu, hit that like button, because you're about to hear the news that changes everything. The key that unlocked our gamer's wallet wasn't something available at launch. It was an announcement about the future. A future powered by AMD. Sony revealed that while the PS5 Pro launched with PSSR, the console is set to receive the full, unadulterated version of AMD's fantastic FSR 4 frame generation technology in the year 2026. This is not a minor update. This is a paradigm shift. For those unfamiliar, FSR, or Fidelity FX Super Resolution, is AMD's answer to NVIDIA's answer to NVIDIA's dominant DLSS upscaling and frame generation. For years, AMD was playing catch-up, but with its latest iterations, it has closed the gap significantly. FSR 4 was lauded for catching up to DLSS 4 in terms of image quality and its ability to reduce visual artifacts like ghosting. And now, this powerful technology is slated to completely replace PSSR as the primary upscaling method on the PS5 Pro. The legendary Mark Cerny himself confirmed it. The full feature set of FSR 4 will be coming to the console, with nothing shaved off the edges. To fully grasp the magnitude of this, you have to understand the difference between Sony's PSSR and AMD's FSR 4. PSSR, PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, is Sony's own in-house technology, and while impressive for a first attempt, it's still a proprietary, closed-system solution. FSR 4, on the other hand, represents the culmination of years of research and development from AMD, competing directly with NVIDIA in the PC space. It leverages sophisticated algorithms and, in its advanced forms, AI, to not just upscale a lower resolution image, but to generate entirely new frames and insert them between the traditionally rendered ones. This effectively doubles the frame rate with minimal impact on latency. Getting the full feature set means the PS5 Pro isn't just getting a watered-down console version, it's getting the real deal, a cutting-edge piece of software that will be continuously improved by AMD for the entire PC ecosystem. This strategic partnership between Sony and AMD
ensures the Pro won't be left behind with aging tech. It will evolve alongside the PC market, a truly unprecedented situation for a console.
This news is monumental because the PS5 Pro already has a GPU that's a reported 67% stronger than the base PS5. Combining that raw horsepower with a state-of-the-art AI-driven frame generation technology like FSR4 means the console's potential is about to be truly unleashed. The initial promise of quality mode at 60 frames per second is no longer just a marketing slogan. It's about to become a technologically backed reality, looking even sharper, clearer, and more stable than anyone initially thought possible. So, what does this mean for actual games? This is where the decision crystallizes. The author has one game in particular in his mind: Grand Theft Auto 6, the most anticipated video game of the last 2 generations. All signs point to it being a technical masterpiece that will push hardware to its absolute limits. The fear, the very real possibility, is that the base PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X simply won't be able to run it at a stable 60 frames per second. Even if they offer a performance mode, it will likely come with significant visual downgrades. He argues that he simply cannot experience this once-in-a-decade event on anything less than the best possible platform. With the impending arrival of FSR 4, the PS5 Pro is positioned to be that platform. It would undoubtedly deliver vastly superior results, offering a smoother and more visually stunning trip to Vice City. Sure, he still plans to buy it on PC when it eventually releases there, but for the console launch, the Pro is the only way to go. And the train of hype doesn't stop there. 2026 is shaping up to be a monster year for PlayStation exclusives. Combine the promise of FSR 4 with Insomniac's Wolverine and Venom games. Add in potential blockbusters like Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. Even upcoming titles like Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotai will benefit immensely. The ability to play these sprawling, beautiful exclusive worlds with unmatched visual quality and a locked 60 frames per second is the ultimate selling point. It transforms the PS5 Pro from a questionable luxury into an essential tool for experiencing the true next generation of gaming. We're talking about a whole new level of performance and fidelity on consoles. If you don't want to miss our future breakdowns of how FSR 4 will impact these massive titles when they launch, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for all the latest analysis. And so, the decision is made. The internal debate is over. The mind is set. But there's one final hurdle to overcome, and it's a massive one. Our protagonist lives in India, and it turns out buying a PS5 Pro there isn't as simple as walking into a store. For reasons that are officially blamed on government stay orders regarding devices with Wi-Fi 7, Sony does not officially sell the Pro variants in the country. The author, however, suspects the real reason is that Sony knows it simply won't sell in the numbers they need to justify a launch. This leaves him with 2 options, both of them painful. The first is to buy from a local gray market retailer. But these sellers, knowing they have a monopoly on the high-demand product, have inflated the price to an absolutely mind-boggling $1,050. To pay that much for a console, he says, would be a betrayal of his identity as a tech-savvy consumer. It's simply out of the question. The only other option is a logistical challenge. Have a friend or relative traveling from overseas purchase the console and bring it back with them. With the disk drive included, this would set him back a more reasonable $780. But it requires patience and reliance on someone else's travel plans. He has to wait for a friend to fly home, carrying an opened console box to avoid customs issues. This is the strange reality of being a passionate gamer in 2025. The journey from being a staunch critic of the PS5 Pro to a determined buyer wasn't about flashy marketing or a sudden influx of cash. It was a journey of compromise, frustration, and ultimately a single, powerful technological promise. The agonizing choice between graphics and performance on his base console wore him down, making him the perfect customer for a machine that vowed to end that conflict. The announcement of AMD's FSR 4 was the final push, turning the Pro from an expensive curiosity into the definitive way to experience the future of gaming, headlined by the titan that is Grand Theft Auto 6. His quest isn't over. He still has to navigate the treacherous waters of international pricing and logistics to finally get his hands on the prize. It's a powerful testament to how far gamers will go, not just for a new toy, but for the promise of an uncompromised experience. The quiet satisfaction of knowing you are playing your favorite games in the best way possible, with every pixel and every frame just as the creators intended.